Your heart beats around 100,000 times a day, pumping 7,000 liters of blood through your body. That's a good day's work without you even realizing it. The heart is an amazing muscle that works with your blood vessels to transport all types of important cells and chemicals around your body. This is your cardiovascular system. Possibly the most important chemical your blood transports through your body is oxygen. As you breathe in oxygen from the atmosphere, it has to be absorbed into your blood and then pushed around to all your organs so that your cells and tissues can be fueled by that oxygen. This helps you not die. Now that we know the basic job of the cardiovascular system, let's take a closer look at how all of this works. Let's start with the heart. The cardio and cardiovascular system refers to the heart. Like we said, the heart beats around 100,000 times a day, which is around 35 million times a year. It is the engine that keeps you going. The heart is a hollow organ, but very muscular. Your heart is actually shaped like an upside-down cone, not like the Valentine's Day cartoon symbol. The heart is a little bigger than the size of your fist and sits on the diaphragm in the center of your chest between your lungs. This is the base of the heart up here, while the apex is down here. The heart wall has 3 layers: the epicardium, myocardium, and the endocardium. Epi means above or upon, so we can remember the epicardium as being the outermost layer above the other layers. It is a slimy layer of connective tissue and epithelium or skin. The sliminess reduces friction as your heart moves next to other organs. The middle layer is the myocardium. Myo means relating to muscles, so you can remember that the myocardium is the thick layer of cardiac muscle. Blood vessels and nerves also attach to the muscle here. Endo means internal or within, so you can remember the endocardium as the innermost layer. It is mostly epithelium and connective tissue. The heart is divided into 4 chambers. The 2 chambers on the top are called atria, while the 2 on the bottom are called ventricles. Blood enters the heart in the atria on top and is first pumped to the lower ventricles before it is pushed back out of the heart. The wall that goes through the middle of the heart is called the septum. It divides the heart into left and right sections. Remember that in anatomy, when looking at diagrams, we imagine that the structures on the screen are in anatomical position. So what looks like the left side to us is actually the body's right side. This is important to remember when studying the heart. The right side of the heart feeds blood to the lungs and receives blood from the body. The left side of the heart receives blood from the lungs and feeds the rest of the body. The pulmonary circuit is when blood goes from the heart to the lungs and then back to the heart. The blood has to go through the lungs to release carbon dioxide and pick up oxygen before it goes back to the heart to be pushed through the body. The systemic circuit is when blood goes from the heart to the rest of the body and then back to the heart. Valves are an important part of blood circulation through the heart. Each valve opens as blood is being pushed through, but then closes to prevent any backflow. In between the right atrium and ventricle is the right atrioventricular or AV valve. It is also known as the tricuspid valve because it is made of 3 projections called cusps. In between the left atrium and ventricle is the left atrioventricular valve, also known as the bicuspid valve because it is made of 2 distinct parts. This valve is also sometimes referred to as the mitral valve. Both of these valves prevent blood from flowing from the ventricles back into the atria. The valve that prevents blood flow back into the right ventricle is called the pulmonary valve. It is called a semilunar valve because of the half-moon shape the valve makes when closed. It is located at the very beginning of the pulmonary artery. The valve that prevents blood flow back into the left ventricle is at the beginning of the aorta and is called the aortic valve. It is also called a semilunar valve. Looking at these valves from above, you can see we have the tricuspid valve, the bicuspid valve, the pulmonary valve, and the aortic valve here. The sound we hear when our heart beats, that lub-dub sound, is actually created by the closing of these valves. The first softer sound, or the lub, is the AV valves closing, and the second louder sound is the semilunar valves closing. A heart murmur is an abnormal sounding heartbeat and is a sign that something may be wrong with a valve. The heart beats in a coordinated fashion. When blood is filling the atria, the top 2 chambers, they are relaxed. Once they are filled, the muscle around the atria contract to push the blood down into the ventricles. This contraction is referred to as atrial systole. As atrial systole is occurring, the ventricles are actually relaxing. This is referred to as ventricular diastole. However, When the ventricles are full, they contract to push blood out of the heart, while simultaneously the atria are relaxing and filling with more blood. This is then referred to as ventricular systole and atrial diastole. Systole equals contraction and diastole equals relaxation. Let's follow the blood as it goes through the entire system, starting with blood in your leg. The red blood cells in your leg will drop off oxygen for your cells in your leg to use. It will also pick up some waste in the form of carbon dioxide. This happens in very small blood vessel networks called capillary beds. Now this deoxygenated blood will head back up to the heart. It will leave the capillaries and merge with other vessels, forming slightly larger vessels called venules. These venules will merge together to create veins. Venules and veins always bring blood from the body back to the heart. Eventually, the blood we are tracking reaches this large vein called the inferior vena cava. Inferior means below, so this vessel gets all the blood from below the heart, while the superior vena cava is on top of the heart and gets all the blood from the head, neck, and shoulders. When our blood enters the heart, it enters into the right atrium. After atrial systole, the blood goes through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. Once ventricular systole occurs, the blood is pushed out of the ventricle into the pulmonary artery. This artery splits off and takes some blood to the left lung and some blood to the right lung. Blood in the lungs will become oxygenated and ready to head back to the body. However, it needs to go back to the heart first, so our blood returns from the lungs to the heart via the pulmonary veins. It will then enter the left atrium. The atria will contract, sending the blood through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle. The left ventricle is the thickest part of the heart because it requires the largest muscular contraction to send our oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. As the ventricles contract, the blood rushes through our aortic valve into the largest artery in the body, the aorta. It then splits into the ascending and descending aorta. The arteries carry blood away from the heart and eventually split into arterioles or smaller arteries. These arterioles further split into small capillaries so that the blood vessels can completely penetrate their target tissue, allowing the blood to supply almost all of the cells in our body. This is just the beginning of the cardiovascular system, so if you're interested in learning more, make sure you click the subscribe button, which is directly below this video. That way you will stay updated on new videos. Thanks for watching, and if you learned something new or found this information interesting, please don't hesitate to click the thumbs up button down below, which is a small free way to say thank you. Comment below with your favorite fact about the heart, and stay tuned for more from those science videos.